Welcome, everyone, to Austin by Starlight, the new Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle for us here at CoffeeCat Presents. Welcome, everybody. To set the stage a little bit, the story will take place in the year 2025. In a blistering hot summer where temperatures are getting close to 110, 115 Fahrenheit. The nights are short, the days are long, and fall is just around the corner, which is somewhat of a relief to Kindred, as the long days of the middle of summer has caused a little bit of a lull in some of their goings on, but the creatures of the night start to become more active as the nights get longer day by day. And our chronicle is going to follow a set of 4 anarchs. Anarchs, or independents, who have only barely just started their journey as a member of the living dead. The characters Pax, Yvette, Alistair, and Deja. Sadly, Mojo's not here tonight to give us a little bit more insight into Deja at the moment. But why don't we start with Mox, who is going to be playing Pax this go around. Give us an idea of where she comes from, who she is, and why she's a part of this coterie.
You want me to introduce myself? All right. I'm from San Antonio, born and bred. Not San Antonio. Austin, born and bred.
Mm-hmm.
Raised by a real shit of a man. And then as I got older, I got brought into the care of the boss. Boss took me in, and he's done a good job with me, I reckon. What do you think?
Pleasure, as always, Pax. And there's Alistair. Who is Alistair? Where's he from? And give us an idea of why it is that you're in Austin.
Alistair is kind of an old man in the family, even though he's kind of young. He was raised to be following his father's footsteps as much as he hates it, being a professor. He's been living in Austin for most of his life, though his mother is from England. His father is a local Texan. And they have been living here as long as he can remember.
Fantastic. And the third member that we have with us today is Yvette.
Bonsoir, je m'appelle Yvette de Croix du Paris.
I think none of us are fluent in French, Yvette.
Pardon. My name is Yvette. I wish you a good evening, and I have come from Paris, France. Have come to America to end up enjoying the hospitality of, well, the kindred of the West. It has been an uncomfortable journey for myself. Monsieur, my sire, has forced me to end up fleeing into this city they end up calling Austin. Pardon. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch my mind. Find it slipping some nights. I am of Clan Ventru, and I hope to make your acquaintances throughout these evenings. There is a concern of mine, as though we are of the Ventru blood, we also end up having a problem among Anarchs. While I count myself among them, I imagine they have a hesitant time in accepting me. I find myself in this coterie as one of the few options presented to me. I hope that I will be able to end up making the most of it and grow this little bit of a famille amongst Pax, Alastair, et Deja.
Yes. Yes, the four of you have collected together for one reason or another. And there are a number of people who kind of surround you as far as your own little circle of friends. So, let's kind of talk a little bit out of character about expectations and what this chronicle is more or less going to be about. This is going to be an Anarch chronicle, for the most part, as Austin is an Anarch city run by two barons, a Zemisi named Jesse Kane, and a Bruja named Vicky. Oh, what is her last name? What did I end up giving her? Vicky Santos. Both of them have been at odds, but no major hostilities have happened in recent decades. They're more or less at a standstill. And while the two barons more or less quietly bicker amongst each other, the third party involved in all of this is the Hakata, the local mafia branch of La Costa Nostra, run by the boss, Jose Maria Hernandez. He has his own machinations and webs that he's dealing in, but he is one of obviously three somewhat conflicting and somewhat working together parties in this city as a grander whole. Aside from that, the Anarchs of the city are more or less pursuing their own ventures, stepping on each other's toes, doing what they can to avoid notice, as in recent years the Camarilla has been noticing the south of Texas as a potential collection point, with recent goings on in San Antonio not going without notice. As such, the Anarchs of San Antonio have maintained Austin have maintained a bit of silence, a sort of calm. No one dare find themselves in the eyes of the Dallas Prince and have droves of kindred come down upon them as masquerade or other tradition breachers. And that is where we would find our little coterie. Now, to give you all a bit of an idea of how this story is going to go, as part of session 0, we will go over some of the basic rules, as is common amongst all of my tables, as well as what you, the viewer, can expect from this chronicle. As this particular series is meant for mature audiences, and viewer discretion is advised. That being said, let's talk a little bit about some Chronicle tenets that you three that are with us would like to consider as rules that this game will play by.
I actually haven't thought about any of those yet. Huh.
One of my favorites has always been the guilty shall suffer.
I mean, that's kind of a big one that actually falls in line with Pax's touchstones and convictions.
If your convictions already cover it, we kind of don't want to cover it again with a Chronicle tenet.
Yeah.
It's one of the big things that I think during character creation is why I try not to define it too much, because that you can easily have a Chronicle tenet and also cover it.
Mm-hmm.
My personal favorite is thou shalt not kill. And I say that flatly, not in saving self-defense or anything like that. The biggest reason for that is because it dissuades the idea of we just feed and huck away the body in a dumpster. It also gives a risk to frenzy and all that kind of stuff, and works just really well as a catch-all. And I think especially with Pax in here, it's going to be something that is going to need to end up doing the bounds, because Pax's world is a violent one.
Yes.
Yes, that is true. As there are a number of ways that you all know how to clean up a mess. Creating the mess in the first place really should be a bit of a risk. And I've always liked thou shalt not kill as a Chronicle tenet myself, because that makes it, like Derek said, less incentivized to just do so. So
Nobody likes a murder hobo group.
It depends on the Chronicle and the point.
Yeah, the group and the story, and if the group and the story are indeed murder hobos, then we would play a spot game. But
I don't know. Thou shalt not kill. I'm just thinking about the way the Pax reacts to things, and oh my god, my humanity is going to drop so quick.
Well, it depends, right? Because how do you end up using it? How do you end up going about it?
Well, we've discussed, Mox, that Pax is frequently paid to squeeze information. Now, whether
she tries to avoid killing, but it happens.
Yes. So, avoiding killing people in that process is definitely, kind of a high priority, and I think that that would be kind of a good goalpost for her to stop at.
Yep.
that would be something that kind of keeps her on the straight and narrow, in a way.
I would say, just as a thought for you, keep the thou shalt not kill, but specifically for Pax, I think one of Pax's touchstones should have a rule that says, like, here is where, because I'm upholding this conviction, it reduces the penalty of me doing X. So it still operates as Pax would, so long as she follows this particular rule.
I think I do have that covered. I mean, she's also got never act against the family, always keep your small word, and the guilty must be punished. So those are things that kind of cover.
Yeah, and that's where I think there's a balancing act, right? A clear distinction of when it is like, no, this is what I'm about, and so there it is, right? And again, right, for Pax, it makes sense that they flirt with that Chronicle tenet more frequently because their convictions kind of protect them from that.
Right.
Okay. Fair enough.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Moxie?
Because Pax could be in service to all three at once of her convictions.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, exactly, right? So in that, if it's an order from the family and it's first degree, which is typically 3 stains, so long as all 3 are actually accounted for, no, there's nothing on Pax in that regard. It's a very niche point, but that's typically when the violence with Pax comes in, is on that very niche moment, if I'm understanding Pax correct.
Yes. Yes, you are. All right, I'm down with it.
Okay. What do we think for a second one?
Moxie, remember, it's on you to remind CoffeeCat of that, okay?
Yes.
All right? Do not forget your own touchstones. Do not forget your own convictions.
Trust me, I won't. In this, I definitely won't. I can't afford to. She's already starting with 1 humanity down.
Always a good place to start.
Yep, she's starting at Humanity 6.
Yep.
Yep. What do we think for another Chronicle tenet? Are we wanting to go full on humanist, or are we going something a little bit mix and match?
I think we can do a mix and match here.
Yeah, let's see what a mix and match would look like.
That one might be fun. Be your own, never submit.
Take it from the Justice Creed, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just looking at some of the
tenets from the book. They're all good examples, for sure.
I don't have my book with me, so I can't have a look.
I have book.
I think this one will work really well for Pax and Yvette. I'm not as sure on Alistair. Respect others and demand respect.
Yes.
Oh, that would be up his alley too. He's very much.
That stays in that flavor of, yeah, guess what? We got disrespected. We have to put that that fire out quick before it ends up going out, and it turns into this. It's very much it's still street level, so it's street level. It ties into Creed and ties into Humanist, which I think works incredibly well for what I'm hearing here.
I agree.
And it works really well with the fact that there are going to be a lot of mafia themes in this particular chronicle. Given that one of the given that the Dawn himself has basically adopted Pax as his, adopted grandfather.
Well, to be fair, it's not unusual for somebody to be married into the Giovanni.
Yeah.
Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave to audience discretion.
Of course.
And I mean, like, all of Pax's touchstones and stuff are all mafia. They're all part of the family, like, everybody that she knows.
There might be some mafia theme.
Some fairly strong mafia themes.
Pretty much everybody that she knows is a made man, and than some, so, you know, it's, yeah, maybe a few here and there.
Just a little bit. Okay. So that's number 2 is give respect, demand respect.
Okay. Just writing these down now.
What do we think about a third?
Let's see here. Well, like I earlier said, I like the be your own, never submit in that regard. Respect others and demand respect is the actual wording.
Right.
So that's the third one that was put on the table. You could also do "Thou shalt not harm the innocent," which
that would also
that
really
can work, and that also works for packs, because then it ends up giving that point of, well, it's not just you; it's who might you accidentally drag into this.
I feel like there's a lot of building around my character.
Well, yours is probably the most directly tied to this chronicle, at least in its themes. I mean, what? Okay, let me flip the script on you. What do you think would work for Yvette?
I really don't know. I would think it would have something about not running away.
Courage is the highest virtue, maybe, or something like that.
Something to encourage her to stand her ground.
I can see that being a very strong personal conviction. I'm not sure that it works as a chronicle tenet in this case, because then anyone not being courageous is taking a stain.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately one of the big things, right? Like, while I use packs as the obvious example, from what I understand to Alistair, that works incredibly. The ones we have works incredibly well, and as well for Yvette, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I would argue Yvette at this point, for the 2 that we have set, probably works the best in those 2. Like, her default modus operandi allows her to operate like that. So there's little challenge in that regard. So if you're wanting to challenge her, what do you do to challenge her? Right? What is it? What would erode that humanity in the Chronicle tenet? If you had to pick on her.
I will also point out that Mojo has down for Deja that guilty shall suffer as a conviction, and be your own, never submit as a conviction. So the Deja is already about,
very much on the
punishing the guilty and independence.
Yeah. And don't worry here, CoffeeCat, if I ever go into French, the whole bait is for somebody to end up calling her out, so she retranslates it to English. So it's going to be
my tongue.
Yeah.
I had a line in packs like, already.
But yeah, I figure every time she's either caught off guard, or whenever she starts to relax, she starts reverting back to her native tongue. Legitimately, guys, I ended up taking it so that her second language is English as a dot.
Which...
That's funny.
Which, actually, I'm going to allow you to revert, because based on the setting, you would get the area language as a free language.
Oh, I understand that, but if I were to build the character by default, and then say she knows French, that kind of hands waves the cost of the dot. All I did was invert it, right?
Well, no, because at character creation, if the setting calls for it, you can have up to 2 languages as your native and one that
If
you've
you're
learned.
going to willingly give it to me, I am not going to argue with it any further. I just wanted to be clear the methodology of why I took a dot in language.
Right, I understand. And she's been in the U.S. long enough that it's not a struggle for her anymore.
Okay.
It's kind of like how Pax would probably know Italian.
Fair enough.
Probably some Italian, yeah. Or some Spanish, more like. Because Boss Hernandez is Mexican.
Yeah.
And if anything, he probably does the same thing where he starts slipping into Spanish when he's in a mood.
That's going to be hilarious when Boss and Yvette start getting heated and now they're talking in two completely different languages. Meanwhile, anybody who's just an English speaker is standing there going, I'm not sure if they understand each other, but they seem to be clearly communicating.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I guarantee that'll be Pax caught in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Growing up, my best friend was Thai, and when his mother gets angry and starts yelling in Thai, I never understood a word of it, but I knew exactly what she was saying every time.
It's fair enough.
You don't
fair
need
enough.
a translator for this one.
Yeah, in the case of language, if the person's native language is one language and the setting language is another, then I let those two be automatically added. That's never.
So
that's
basically,
never required.
what you're basically allowing me to do is swap Spanish for French.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
because
we
that's her native
presume that
language.
Yeah. So it's Spanish that she would have a hard time.
Yep. If she wanted to learn Spanish, she would take a dot in Spanish.
Okay.
But
this is a perfect example of why you want a session 0.
exactly, because that gives you that dot to spend on something else.
Okay. So I get where we're going with the whole bit. So I'm kind of Oh.
So what was our third Chronicle?
I think I got it.
Okay.
I think I got it. This is gonna be tough, especially for Mother. Never snitch.
Ooh.
Oh my god, yes.
It fits in well with the themes because there's going to be strong familial themes, strong,
I'm going to get so many stains by accident, it's not even going to be funny.
Especially
Keep your mouth shut, boy.
Especially
Yes.
if Alistair starts getting involved with, Pax's family, where
I actually am going
not.
to put in brackets on the side a different way to describe don't snitch, and one that I know Moxie will appreciate. It could be called never snitch. It could also be called omerta.
Omerta.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Let it never be said, Moxie, that I don't try and play to your guys' strength at every opportunity.
Oh, Derek, you know I love you.
Don't let that get out. I'm a son of a bitch. I try and I have a reputation to uphold. To which Raven's going to say, "Fuck your rep."
Actually, Coffee. On
Yes.
that note, Pax's position within La Cosa Nostra.
Mm-hmm.
We never actually discussed where she actually stands. Is she an associate? Is she a made man? What's happening there?
I think
Because she's not male,
right.
so
Bas-
she wouldn't be made.
Pax, if I had to guess for Pax, just for story interest, simply be an associate, which is how they would refer to somebody who is literally outside of the family, but a friend of the family. This is somebody who's trustworthy. This is somebody who's in, but they are not technically in the family, which is exactly Pax's position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the only other position is just far too high to put a character like Pax, and that would be consigliere.
Yeah. But it also turns into a case of you can build up to,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
find, how do I preserve the tradition while while unceremoniously working around it, which is vampire in a nutshell, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So with that thought in mind, she actually hasn't taken the Oath of Ometa, but she still has an idea of don't open your fucking mouth.
I think that would be pretty well hammered into Pax, given her upbringing,
Yes.
given her
Well,
father.
she was raised.
That she is, by all accounts, his. That he made her. That essentially you're his property.
Well, yes, she belongs to the family.
That Lorenzo Cassetta is not a good man. No, he's definitely not a good man. But that kind of goes into the like themes and expectations for what we should expect from this story. And in that regard, there are going to be a lot of themes of controlling family. There's going to be a lot of themes of mental, emotional, sometimes physical abuse. There's going to be not necessarily like displayed or anything like that, but there will be fade to black moments where, or of any kind, that could come up as a result of the backgrounds of these characters. And in that, I do want to remind my players that there is always a red card fade to black. I will end a scene, we will likely cut to break, and check in. Because if something is making you uncomfortable, I don't want you to feel like you have to continue. That being said, the audience also has that ability to just shut off the stream. I am not going to go beyond TOS. This is a Twitch broadcast game. This is a rule that I stand by, that any theme that we cover in a story that I storytell will not be explicitly like mentioned as per TOS. That being said, there are going to be things that probably make you uncomfortable. There are things that are probably going to make people cry. There are things that in Vampire just are shitty. And that's okay.
It's World of Darkness.
It's World of Darkness.
Comes with the territory, right?
Comes with the territory. I do tragic. I hit people in the feels. I will use what little knives that you have provided me, which is basically every character on this board right now, to stab at your feelings.
Oh, we've given you so much.
We tried to give you enough to work with.
Yes, and I love it. I was
at that point where I was thinking I gave you too much.
But yes, that is my expectations as a storyteller, is that you have put trust in me with some of these characters, that some of them are not good people, and those people will likely be not great towards your character when they're interacting together, and that it's all in character. None of it bleeds over to out of character. We're all friends, and I, as a storyteller, will also probably check in because I'm like that and you guys are my friends. So
that being said, Mother, bottom of my heart, I just need you to know, I've hated you. I have always hated you. Every moment of working with you has been utter torture, and I regret every moment of it. But I'm here now.
That's a fucking lie.
Don't push my buttons.
That's a fucking lie, and he knows it.
Derek, I have tolerated you because you are somewhat amusing. I hope that we can work together for the future of this game.
Fantastic. Love to see it. And yes, I
Boys are
even have
riot.
PAX as the new LOL emote.
Wait, what?
Look at the emotes in the chat.
Oh my god!
The new LOL emote is PAX. It's not Dana anymore.
I love it. I love it.
God, I feel so far behind the ball right now.
Why?
I'm still working on new emotes and all that.
To be fair, it was a retrace and a recolor, so it wasn't like it was hard. But yeah, now that we've kind of gone over that a little bit, let's talk about how your characters met.
I love to think that they were all just called into a room by one of by the Don or the fucking one of the Barons, and they're like, look, we're gonna just stick you all together and you guys can just behave, please, for the love of God.
Yeah, I like to think somewhat that we were kind of handpicked of like, okay, all these odd ducklings don't really mesh anywhere else, but we're going to stick them together because each one has a strength and they probably can do something.
Well, that was kind of the story with the Iconoclast, right?
Yeah,
that's
what
it is.
The way I kind of look at it, it's not far off. I'm not even gonna try and pretend like this wasn't a great idea when I saw it, because it's absolutely classic.
Mm-hmm.
But New York by Night showcased a very simple, very common intro, which is, hey, each one of you, for whatever reason, need to end up here doing X for the Baron. Here's your location. We can kind of skip that portion of it, but it's like, you guys are now stuck here in this one feeding domain. It's not a case of trying to get out of the way or anything like that. It's just like, I have this small chunk of land and I got this here, these group of newbies, and honestly, this chunk of land either isn't worth it, has some kind of hotspot, or at least puts some kind of buffer between me and a problematic area in the city. There's ways you can end up doing it. Like, you can think about this, Coffee, when you end up doing it. If you're a Baron, think about the problems the Baron has as far as like territory, what have you, and go, I'm just gonna plop them there and say, you handle it. I don't want to hear about it. If you come to me, it better be with good news. That's
just from Pax's perspective. I feel like she was probably put there, A, because she's a problem in herself. Like, she's not exactly tame. Like, even the boss has trouble controlling her and what she does, as well as he needs to expand his influence. So I feel like that's probably why she's with the Coterie. But as to how she met them, I have no idea.
Yeah, Vet is in this coterie mostly on the basis of, well, Anarch City, Ventru, you do the math.
Doesn't often go over well, especially with the Brujah. One of the Barons being Brujah, that there might be some, clan versus clan animosity in there in general.
Yeah.
Throw them in with the crazy. It's fine.
I got two and it's not like Premeire has a sterling reputation either, right? So better throw them together. Make sure nothing bad happens.
Well, I mean, you can keep an eye on them all if you have them all in one place, right?
That's the idea, anyway.
And I mean, they're each skilled enough on their own, I would think, that they could still be useful.
I like the idea of each of you had been summoned by the Baron, whoever that might be. Whether you go with Jesse Kane or you go with Vicky Santos. they would effectively split the city in half with a chunk kind of carved out for the Hakata. And kind of put you in a position where you're kind of a little bit out of the way.
Well, I imagine the boss wasn't happy with the little bit that he got.
It depends, because I haven't really fleshed out the entirety of the Hakata either. They might be a very small influence, but their influence is more kind than it is kindred, because
Fair enough.
because as you've put into packs as touchstones and things like that, that a lot of them are involved in the family, and so a lot of them would know the boss, and so in that regard, it could be that the boss's influence is more in the mortal realm than it is in the kindred realm, because if the Hakata are as sparse as any other kind of clan or less populous than any clan in the state of Texas, he probably just has influence over his people, quote unquote, and that's really about it.
I'm just trying to get a feel for what we're working with in terms of politics.
He might not.
In terms of politics, we got a fourth generation pig farmer, a Ventru bodyguard, a crazy mafioso princess, and a cult Tremere leader.
Look, mafioso princess has learned a lot in her year of being undead, okay?
It's true facts. That is true.
Be amazed what
Oh no, I can't wait to meet this character, Mox. You have no idea. It's going to be so much fun.
Well, let's talk about Alistair a little bit, because we haven't really heard much about where.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm still trying to get in the headspace for him. It's been a bit of a challenge.
Well, I guess a good place to start is, how influential do you think the Tremere are in Austin?
I was kind of leaving that up to you. I know that his sire has been trying to teach him all that he can. And he has a small group of I know there's a small group of Tremere, at least because of who I've kind of surrounded myself with. A couple of characters that, they'll have at least a sire there, and, so there's a small collection at least. But I don't know how influential they will be in the city. That's up to you.
Well, I had a thought, because San Antonio is not necessarily all that far away, and the small collection of Tremere in Austin might have some connection to the Tremere in San Antonio. Now, it might not be a very strong tie, but it's probably more so that there's only a couple of Tremere in the city, and there's a lot of back and forth between them in San Antonio. But that's up to if you want to kind of include that. That was the thought that I had.
Well, that's acceptable to me. I have no problems with working that in. I just kind of built a couple of background characters to kind of give you some daggers to twist, and kind of like a basic storyline with bullet points of like big things that have happened in my life. I didn't try to write myself into a corner.
Right, and I did see that in the background that you created with that you sent me, that there was 2 additional characters that aren't necessarily on your character sheet, but are some people that might have an influence in some of how things go on, and that's Raven, the Tremere, and Anastasia, and I rolled her to be Bruja, and that she has ties with the Bruja Baron Vicky, and
Okay.
that there's some animosity between you and Anastasia, and you didn't really flesh that out too much, but you're not really adversary level either yet, so
Yeah.
there's
It's with Raven. It was more of a something my sire did kind of pissed her off. So she's like a roadblock that you can throw in front of me to mess with me. And with Anastasia, she was just I wanted to have like a friendly character. I make one that
oh, I might have gotten them backwards then, because that was the other way
Yeah.
around when I read it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I might have wrote them backwards then.
Yeah, because I was under the impression that Raven was the one that we were familiar with, but either way, I want to want that to be something that we keep in mind, because you did add those as some additional characters that we could potentially use in that regard. And so there's that. And then of course, Yvette is a bodyguard and has bodyguarded other people in the past, and that sort of thing. That kind of how do you think that you met Alistair, for instance? Like, how do you think you get along? Hello? Are you talking, Derek? I don't hear you.
No, I'm not here. I didn't actually I was kind of working on the character sheet just now while you were interviewing Alistair. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I directed a question at you. Sorry.
No, it's my fault. I'm like, okay, what other things do I have to get around? Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, I was just asking, like, how you and how Yvette and Alistair might get along at the moment.
I'm not as familiar with Alistair, the Mr. Knight at this point. Like, if I had to go off of what I might expect, I think Yvette prefers things to be ordered, things to be in a structure of some kind, as true for most Ventrue. So I think in that, there has to be some degree of stability or understanding in that regard. Because there's one thing that traditionally Ventrue and Premeire both value, it's structure. Now there are Anarchs, so that means they got out of the pyramid and what have you. So I'm not sure on how Alistair feels on that regard. But Yvette, until very recently, didn't understand that there was even a thing called the Anarchs. Now all of a sudden just thrust it into them, so. Though on occasion, she might just spout off. Tu essaies peut-être crétin.
Do what now?
You're a fucking moron.
Yes, we're going to have many of those moments where a 2.intellect player is playing a 4.intellect character.
Oh, come now. Don't sell yourself so short.
I think, honestly, what Yvette probably looks at him is, like, at least before she would get to know him, is he's just another person that she probably would have to protect, because he doesn't look that impressive. He looks kind of like a suit and like an intellectual, without getting too I don't know. At least that's kind of the idea I had, but as they get to know each other, it's going to be fun to see where the dynamics go in this game, because I have no idea who's going to get along with who. And
Well,
like,
that's kind of part of session 0, right? Is that, you all have been introduced to each other more or less by whoever summoned you, and then you because you can decide if you'd like who that would be, and we can kind of go from there and kind of get an understanding in that, because Baron Kane is probably the more corporate out of the two, because he's Zamisi. He has to know. He has to, have his little. Obviously, he's the Dragon Clan. He has to have his little horde, and he's been sitting on it for quite some time now. And Vicky Santos doesn't really stir the pot all that much, except to occasionally poke at his talons, and then he gets all feisty. But that's basically the kind of stance in that Jesse Kane would be the one who's kind of the high society, corporate, kind of suit and tie kind of Baron, where Vicky is more of the on the ground, kind of rough and tumble, black market kind of a Baron, where she kind of picks up the dregs and the Kane is the high society.
Personally, I think we'd probably have been picked up by Kane. Just thinking about how La Cosa Nostra works, it'd be more beneficial for them to work with Kane.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be kind of deal happening there behind the scenes that they don't know about.
Could be.
Just a thought.
it could be an area of Austin that neither Baron really wants to mess with, and they kind of just shoved us there to deal with whatever problem they have.
It could have been both barons making an agreement.
Yeah, because I could see some of us fitting for each Baron, and
For me, it's just, do you want me to put it on easy mode or hard mode? That's really what that's the choice is for me. There's one parallel between Bruja and dwarves. They hold grudges. A lot.
Normally for a good deal of time.
Oh, don't worry. It's just until you're dead.
Yeah.
And even then, probably just shit on you after you are. Because the grudge still hasn't let go. But yeah,
well, that's the what are they called? The Hakata or whatever. They deal with spirits and stuff. Doesn't matter if you're dead or not; they'll still bring you back to get their grudge then.
But that's even if the Hakata in this particular instance even really do a whole lot in the way of men necromancy. They are known for that, yes, but they could go against type. You never know.
True. I'm okay with either Baron, to be honest, because I could see either one of us kind of putting in, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it'd be interesting if it was both Barons working together, being like, hey, we've got these newbies, where are we going to stick them? Like, I mean, it'd be really interesting if we were like smack bang between the two territories.
I could see me and Yvette be coming from the suit side and the other two coming from the street side.
There's a lot that can be done there.
Yeah.
If that's how y'all want me to, if that's how y'all want to play it, then that's perfectly fine by me.
If you can roll with the punches, I mean,
I can always roll with the punches, my guy.
Well, I mean, we've always got the Hecata too to turn to because they've got their own territory. So, like, maybe it's the three of them coming to an agreement. It's like, I've got people, let's put them all together and see
Or
what
there's
comes out of
something
it.
super fucky wucky that's going on that all three of them need to work together about.
That's a plot hook you can use.
That is.
Always.
I kind of like the three of them kind of going together.
Anybody else get an ominous echo just now from her?
Ominous echo. 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 Well, instead of okay, so we kind of get no, go ahead. You were gonna say something.
No, I was about to say the same thing you were. I think we just got a little sidetracked.
A little bit, because I was wanting to, kind of get an
Figure
idea.
out the relation between the Coterie first.
Yeah, between you guys.
So I think the best way to do it, I don't know if you remember this old method, but start with one person and kind of interview them, not as with no feedback on the others. Just here is what I see in them, whether it's positive, neutral, or hit, hostile.
Right.
Then
right.
go around the board, then move to the next, then move to the next, to the next, and then you end up having the entire split.
Yeah, we can do the circular interview. So, since Deja's gonna have to come back and do this or something, and or give me Mojo give me a type out of what he thinks that Deja would think of the other three, but to kind of help you get into the headspace of Alistair, Mother, why don't we go with Alistair first?
Okay.
Kind of get you familiar with and used to, Alistair's way of thinking. What does he think of Yvette? Upon first meeting her, been introduced, you've maybe, gotten some things together as far as, like Coterie assets and things like that, started putting some things together. And what is his initial first impression?
Initial first impression is probably she's a little bit more refined and dependable, I would think, because of her skill set.
Certainly exotic.
Definitely,
she's French.
definitely an asset to, if you want to look at them people as an asset in that way, that person to stick close to. As for personality, don't really have that out yet, but just based off of first impressions and skill sets, that's what I'd say.
Okay. What does Alistair think about Deja? She's a pig farmer. She's long history in her family of being farmers. She's born in Austin.
Well, just more of a salt of the earth kind of person that, well, is the old saying of never trust a person that has more than 3 pigs.
That is a saying.
But I think she could be useful in certain aspects. He probably would not look down on her because of being a farmer, but he would probably just kind of brush that to the side of her being a background in his mind in the Coterie. Not like a hostile, like, he would hate her, but in terms of usefulness,
kind of mediocre, kind of.
Yeah, in terms of usefulness, he would have to wait and see how she is in his, like, how useful she can be to him.
Gesundheit?
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, I bless you, my child.
En nomine Patri, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti.
You're welcome.
For a second there, I wasn't sure as to whether it was a cough or a sneeze or both.
I actually was almost about to remove my headset because like, did the mouse just fart? I know, I'm a horrible person.
Yes, but you're one of our favorite horrible people.
Even Mojo's getting in on this, like.
But then the last would be, what does he think of Pax?
Now that is a minefield. He believes she's kind of a loose cannon. He, at least from seeing that she has her strengths and weaknesses, that she's also unstable, to say it mildly. And he's going to basically kind of treat that like a hand grenade or a hot potato and try to handle that off into anybody else in the coterie that he can, to not have to deal with that.
Smart man.
So, good, bad, medium?
Kind of mediocre. It's with Deja and Pax, he's got to get to know them better because he's undecided. Just off of first impressions, one didn't leave much of a impression, and the other one is like, well, why do I feel like I just got handed a live grenade? And you know, he has to get to know them better, I think.
Okay. Let's go to Pax. What do you think of Deja?
Oh, Deja is my sister. She is an absolute doll. I trust her about as much as I trust myself. Which doesn't really say a lot.
Fair enough. What about Alistair?
You know, men are tricky. Can never really tell what they're thinking. And they're not exactly the smartest things in the world. So, yellow on him.
Okay. And Yvette?
Yet to be seen.
Okay. You don't know what to make of her yet.
Not yet.
Okay. And Mojo has just informed me that Deja also feels very, very sisterly towards Pax. So there's that. He's listening in, but he's he sadly cannot join us today. And Yvette, what do you think about Alistair?
Alistair is a stability and ends up assisting us to end up being able to end up keeping some degree of consistency amongst this coterie. But I must end up making sure to end up keeping an eye on Monsieur, because, well, I've seen the magic only a few times, and it has ended up making me all the more curious and all the more cautious. I am also aware that he shares an ability avec moi, pardon, with me, which leaves me a little concerned. But that is true for my entire coterie. Mostly positive, but cautiously so.
Okay. Super. It's a little apprehensive, but mostly a positive outlook. Okay.
You must remain so to end up being amongst the Anarchs. I think that would just be a standard for all. But amongst him, I only hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Fair enough. What about Deja?
Deja, c'est tragique. A young woman who has had her American dream stolen from her. A figure who has a family who have ended up raising upon a farm, toil in the land, and they have become far more. And now must end up enduring the nights to end up seeing without leaving a legacy. Children. Everything that one would hope for when end up coming to this country, stolen away. It's tragic.
So you feel more pity towards her, or
perhaps, oui, pity.
And what about Pax?
Pax est dangereux. Dangerous. I fear that she end up may wallow in violent tendencies. It is I feel the need to end up serving as a guiding hand. Try and end up showcasing a world beyond just the one that she knows. So embroiled in the underworld, she has caused or has been involved in no end of horror. And so I feel the need to end up showcasing a different way. Or at the very least try and end up protecting her from the slings and arrows that is this world of darkness.
So, cautious, but friendly, or keep her
Try
at arm's
to be.
length?
I cannot afford to be at arm's distance. It is not my way. Perhaps it is naive of me.
So Yvette has a generally positive outlook on the positive first interactions and first impressions of her coterie so far.
Oui.
Pax is fairly cautious, as is Alistair, and so is Deja. So, but at least nobody is at each other's throats. Not yet, anyway. So, that being said, knowing kind of all of that now, let's talk a little bit about connections, because we do know that a lot of Pax's interactions are going to be kind of familial and and very much within the sort of mafia kind of realm, black market, all sorts of nefarious deeds and things of that sort. But let's because we haven't really talked about who these people are in the sense of getting the audience in on some of this. So let's kind of talk about some of the touchstones and sires and things like that, and kind of get a broader idea of the people around your character. So let's start with Yvette. Yvette, who are the two people that we see on the board here today?
Randall Pendrum. He is a local entrepreneur, as well as a individual who has done very much a fair amount of lobbying amongst the politique of Austin. He serves as a mentor of sorts to me. I look to him as a example to understand the politique of America. Very I look to him as a figure to aspire to, as I admire that he is realistic about the world that we are among. It is not to say he is a shining beacon of what one would hope for. He is aware of corruption and all manners of backdealing that must be done in order to end up keeping the city moving. But he has always ended up showing a pragmatism I appreciate.
Okay. And what about Jennifer? Who is she to you, and what does she kind of inspire in you?
Miss Kinninger is a figure here known amongst many musicians. She is a frontline hair singer, though I am unaccustomed to music of America. But I admire as I've done a job for her. Unfortunate, it was in assistance to my sire, in which case I've given him information that caused her to be smeared in the public eye. A fall from grace story. She continues to face against it and has always ended up being extremely energetic, but perhaps that is simply the cocaine.
So tell us a little bit about your sire, then. Who is that?
Hold on. Mon sire, c'est un putain de bastard, un Conrad qui mange de la merde. He is a fucking bastard and a shit-eating fuckwit. During my time, I was a ghoul to him. That is the word you use. And I ended up having to doing several assignments that ended up causing a lot of frustration. He tried to end up making some moves in America, which is why I am here. And I ended up having, unfortunately, a chance to end up being embraced when one of his assignments ended up causing my unfortunate demise. I think he embraced me as a child, or, well, suffice it to say, I am a undead equivalent of a sunk cost fallacy. And in doing so, it allowed me to at least a moment of clarity in order to remove my bond. I ended up fleeing from Paris to America, and I've taken refuge in the Anarch city of Austin. At this point, my education has been through only what I have previously observed through my sire, and unfortunately, a myriad of from my coterie, as well as a small figure, a fledgling who I am still here getting to know. But at least we have a common blood. What makes it more difficult for me in this city is my last name. While I could end up changing it, eventually the secret would get out. I think it would be best for me to end up maintaining who I am on the face of it, at least right now. So I end up continuing to use the name LaCroix. For the Anarchs who are familiar with what happened in Los Angeles, LaCroix was the prince during the early 2000s and had lost the city to Anarch rebellion. This makes my position doubly horrific, and yet I have tried to end up maintaining a certain distance from my relatives. Still, it is something I hope to end up making my own, and I will not flee from what I am.
Fair enough. Alistair, who are the people around you?
Oh.
And what do they mean to you?
Well, going by just the pictures that I see in front of me, first we have Michelle Knight, who would be my younger sister. Always had fond memories of her from our childhood, and always tried to shelter her and shield her from the worst of anything that came our way.
And what does she inspire in you?
To be a better person and to protect those who you care about.
Okay.
Next probably would be Isabel Knight, my mother. We have a somewhat strained relationship, but not a terrible one. Growing up, I always wondered why she stayed with my father. I don't understand how love can make you overlook some things. But that's probably another tale for another time.
there is someone between them, and who is that?
That would be my father, William Knight. A prestigious professor in his own right, but in his personal life, somewhat of a bastard. He groomed me and my sister to try to follow in his footsteps, and when we would not be performing to his expectations, I would try to take the brunt of it, but let's say that he was less than caring.
I'm guessing you don't have a very good relationship with him at all.
No, he is the summation of everything I don't want to be. If I had to distill every aspect of a personality that I would never want to have within myself, it would be that person.
And then there's Misha and Wilford.
Misha is somewhat of an enigma. I know a little bit about her, but I don't know much. She was a customer of mine that used to come into the bookstore looking for rare books, and she would leave me we would trade in books, and she would leave me tomes that piqued my interest. Later, I found out that she was just grooming me for my sire, who she was just gauging my interest and leading me down the rabbit hole to him, seeing if I was suitable for their goals. And as for Wilfred, he's been a good sire. He very much respects I respect the structure and his belief in results of how he decides to teach me. It's very academic. It's something I'm very used to. It was a very easy transition.
So maybe some of the things that your father did teach you kind of stuck. And do you resent Wilford for that? Or do you resent what happened to you for that?
It's a complicated feeling, because on one way he never wants to be controlled again, but in the other way, through Wilfred, he will gain more standing, more power, more knowledge, the things that he describes or needs the most to keep his autonomy. So it's a fine balancing act that he's got to be on.
And if Misha was kind of gauging you for Wilfred, it's very likely actually that she is his ghoul.
That would be acceptable. I always had it written down as a vampire, but I'm not sold into that. That would make a lot more sense, as opposed to being like a second child or a friend.
Well, given that Austin's not nearly as populous a city as San Antonio, there are going to be fewer kindred in this area than that city.
That makes a
Right.
lot of sense, though. So I will amend that.
But do you have a generally good relationship with Misha, or do you resent her?
Yes.
Okay.
She she basically opened my eyes back up to a world that I had never really thought, and rekindled a love for magic and the occult, and that I had when I was younger, and kind of put away to try to appease my father a bit and make my life a little bit easier. She's an interesting woman in the fact that she's very standoffish, but not in the way that you would normally think of being a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
She makes you work for any information you get for her, and makes you actually come to your own conclusions instead of just handing you the answers.
Makes it more of a fun puzzle kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I can dig it. And Pax, talk to us about your people.
There are so many. Where do I start? Let's start with Rosa. Rosa was my mother, although I don't really remember much about her. I feel kind of neutral towards her. I knew she was a punching bag. That's what she taught me, how to be a punching bag. Not much else, though. And then you've got Lorenzo. Dear sweet Papa. Man who taught me what love actually was. And that love is just pain. How do you show somebody that you care for them? You hurt them as much as you can. Yes, I love my father. I hate him. And if I ever get the opportunity, well, I might just turn him into one of us, give him a pair of concrete shoes, and drop him into the Mariana Trench. Then there's Maurice.
But he does inspire something in you, doesn't he?
He does. After all, he was the one that introduced me to this life. He was the one that put me in the boss's way. And the boss is something else. The boss is the father that Lorenzo never was. He is something special. He takes care of me, and I do whatever he asks, without question. Shit, father love is pain. I love that.
But you do care about Boss Hernandez.
Absolutely. I'll do anything he asks me without question. Anything. Whether it's kill a man or torture somebody half to death, or hell, I might even walk off of a cliff face for him. Maurice, I'm kind of dubious about. He's a soldier. And I think he's a bit dubious to me. I mean, he's called me a crazy bitch once or twice, and he's not exactly wrong.
Valid point.
but I don't think I'd trust him with any secrets.
But what does he inspire in you in that regard?
He's somebody that always
Sorry, you were cutting out. What was that?
He's somebody that will always make sure that the guilty get what are coming to them. I mean, he's brought me a few people once or twice on the orders of our boss, and given me. He's vocalized very much when people deserve it.
And then there's Julian.
Capo. My capo. He watched over me when the boss couldn't. He helped me get established after I was pulled out of the pit. I care about him almost as much as I care about the boss. And if anything ever happens to him, well, may God help the one that does something. May God help them. He is one that will always keep his word to me. And I don't think he's ever lied to me yet.
Alright. So, we kind of have an idea of what your relationships are to yourselves. I'm kind of doing a little bit of a thinky bit about how some of these things could be definitely connected. Just kind of thinking.
I'm loving how much yellow there is on packs. I love it.
But yeah, it's definitely interesting. So, kind of going back a little bit, Yvette, to this Ventru fledgling. Are they kind of serving as a bit of a guide to you in that regard? That they're kind of teaching you what it is to be a Ventru?
Oui, especially in the sense of how we are amongst Anarchs. I am familiar with the Camarilla, but unfortunately my own understanding of this world and this city is unfortunately lacking to an extent. I've done copious amounts of reading, but it doesn't tell you anything about the kindred amongst it. They even use the term kindred. Well, that's what to say in English, but je gesticule et répète.
Well, I like this little relationship web so far. What do you call yourselves?
First thing that came to my mind was the kitchen sink.
Damn.
It's the last thing you could throw at it.
Let's see here. Well, the first thing, like, right away I can notice is everybody has the shared clan discipline of dominate.
Yep.
We have a person who's used to being around power. We have one person who's in a position of power. We have one person who's a fantastic supporting of that, and we have one person who is very much the oddball in occult knowledge. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have the two Malkavians that are definitely core to the group. Right.
And Mojo was just kind of writing in our text chat that him and his Deja and her sire are kind of more leaning into the sort of representation of Malkavians as sort of insightful seers. They're both kind of leaning into that a little bit. As far as, you know, what perception that they want for themselves, and so Deja does what she can to come across as insightful. So Coterie name. I mean, not like you need one, but
No, it's usually the big thing.
It makes it.
I mean, in a way, we're kind of unknown. Like, we could become literally anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of a word for that.
You're thinking anomaly.
That works.
I'm thinking more of statement of purpose, or what?
Right, something.
What
do you want to do with this group?
Though I do detect one. I'm not sure if the name works, but it's certainly fitting, especially given the fact that you have two individuals who come from clans that are known for extreme rigidity, and you have two Malkavians who, the way I would refer to this group is organized chaos.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Is there a way to say that with one word? Probably not. I do like organized chaos as a kind of Coterie's concept, though.
Bedlam.
Bedlam?
Yeah, I'm looking at related words and phrases.
I like that. Bedlam.
Bedlam.
We could also be called the Tinderbox.
The Tinderbox.
Just waiting for us to.
Yeah,
But Bedlam
Bedlam,
is cool.
Havoc, and Tinderbox are the cool ones that I see. Oops.
Mojo, you're in chat. What do you think? He says oxymoronic, ambiguous, everything but the kitchen sink.
Well, let's see here. We got somebody who's untrustworthy because they own a pig farm. We got one who's untrustworthy because they're Cosa Nostra. We got one who's untrustworthy because they literally lead a cult, and we have one who's untrustworthy due to a name.
Why did my brain immediately say untrustables?
Terrible branding.
True. But my brain immediately went to pun with uncrustables.
The funniest thing about it is, if you think about it, we are anarchy. Yeah.
Yeah, I just said that, Simba.
So what? We have Bedlam, we have Untrustables.
I was saying that as a gaffe, so don't even consider that if you don't want to. That was me having a laugh at myself.
Or the Children of Janus.
The other one that I said,
Children of Janus,
was Pillbox.
What is Children of Janus? What is that?
Of Janus?
Yeah.
Janus?
Oh, Janus?
Yeah.
Children of Janus. That's a name that was used for the Malkavians in Bloodlines. What they call
it was when the Malkavian referred to it as you are a child of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that very much seems to describe every one of us in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, kind of like
really
a Janus
does.
Twins kind of theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always they've been taught the word is Janus, not Janus.
I don't know. I've always heard it said Janus or Janus or something to that effect. I don't know how to pronounce the word exactly, but the first time I ever saw that word was in Chrono Trigger. Didn't know how to pronounce it then either.
Janus.
See, I always pronounced the character's name as Janus because I didn't want to say Janice because that sounded feminine, and it was a boy.
Well,
it was a boy character named that. So I
if
was
you
like,
say instead of Janus, it's Janus.
mm-hmm. Anyway, we're kind
really
of getting off topic a little bit.
I just threw out the idea, that's all.
Love it.
I love it.
I think it's cool. Because there's always two sides to every kindred.
Either Pax or Deja is going to turn out to, like, have an attachment there somewhere. Like, it would just end up being a thing, I feel. I mean, we've got LaCroix, let's go the whole way. No laugh.
I mean, LaCroix is a name to live down. That's true.
Well, I mean, if you refer back to the game, those two were in the same game.
Oh yeah,
they were in the same season.
I never played Bloodlines, so that's new to me.
They were in the exact same city.
Or it was like a Janus Twins kind of a thing.
I can't remember what her name was. I'm blanking on her name.
I don't know.
Vorman. The Vorman sisters.
Oh, the Vorman sisters. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know who they are.
That's who we're referring to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just couldn't remember what their names were. There's Therese and the other
Jeanette.
one.
Therese and Jeanette, yeah.
Yeah. No, they're from the same city as LaCroix.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah. Which is why it would be kind of ironic if one of the Malkavians turned out related to them.
That would be an interesting twist.
It'd
I
be
don't know.
funny.
Unless you put it on lore sheets that there's some kind of connection. I'm not
It's just
forcing it.
something thrown into the wind, like,
You know, because the idea for this chronicle is also to be kind of boots on the ground, where it's more interacting with the people around you rather than, you know, being overly political. I mean, there's still going to be that. There's still gonna be that in the chronicle as a whole, but generally speaking, it's going to be the four of you interacting together, interacting with each other, and the connections between yourself and the people around you, and because there's there's also, other factors that kind of come into this, where, there's factors of herd, there's factors of other family or other kindred in the city, there's factors of, this, that, or the other, and so just connecting those things is kind of where we're at the moment, but I'm always open to ideas in that regard. And that if you guys want to connect something specific, then we can go ahead and do so. Otherwise, that's going to be me in the background. Because I'm always happy to connect things if you all want them to be connected.
Man, I've already thrown you so many ideas. So many. You have a list. I swear to God, there must be a list there.
I have a list of things. They may or may not get implemented. Well, it's kind of a luck of the draw, maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
So many ideas that I really should stop.
I love that you're so like very much about just having fun with that, because we definitely can do that. But we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna do some coterie creation, where we're gonna put together what it is that you guys have assets all together. So we'll be right back, everybody, with more of Session 0 of Austin by Starlight. Don't go anywhere.
I can't wait until I've got the full outfit.
Welcome back, everyone, to Austin by Starlight. And yes, Mox is going to be doing a full-on outfit for PAX at some point, because she wants to get into this this cosplay your character business that we all like. So I'm a fan of that kind of thing. So have fun. I love it. But as we promised, we are gonna do some coterie making. So first off is we're gonna decide, based on the different coterie types, what kind of coterie and goal does this coterie have, and really kind of get an idea of what it is that these characters are looking for by coming together, as a single group, rather than sticking it out on their own with their own little chunks of this little piece of domain that they've been handed, however big that piece is. But they have a kind of chunk to themselves of the city that they can build up however they like. That unless called in for some other reason, they're meant to pay their dues as far as being able to keep it. Otherwise, any one of the barons, or any one of the two barons, or even the Hecata could come down and say, "Hey, you didn't do the thing," depending on kind of who runs the territory that they're in. But the general consensus being that it could be a mutual effort between all three of the primary bosses in this particular domain. That there might be some kind of bigger thing going on that the Coterie might be tackling as a result of their coming together. So, in that regard, what kind of Coterie do you think you might be?
That's a good question.
Because each one has their perks and each one has their flaws.
Because I don't have my book here.
Well, in that case, for you, what kind of conceptually, what kind of coterie do you think it might be? Do you think that you're going to be more a defensive measure, more of a research and destroy, or just research, or do you think that you're protecting something or someone, that sort of thing? What
I don't see us being protectors, really. We're not. I don't think we're really information gatherers either. Not in a big way. I mean, I think our heaviest is Yvette.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Pax has skills with a gun, but that's about it.
Yeah, we're not really a Cerberus in that regard.
No,
Yeah.
probably not going after anything, and as far as like in that regard, where it's like you're protecting or guarding something, or even going after somebody or something in a kind of heavy kind of way.
Like, I can see us. Like, I can see Pax doing resource gathering. I'm thinking about the Premeire in the group, and he's probably more research based.
Yeah, especially because the ambition that you currently have on Alistair right now is that it's some supernatural in focus. So there is the potential for supernatural elements to be included as part of this particular chronicle, depending on what roads you guys want to go down.
I would look at it. I would say primarily, given from what I understand of the Coterie, we're almost Pluminet. United by ties of social prominence or simple common enthusiasms. Social coteries appear in the Camarilla courts and Anarch alleys alike. Some Pluminaires unite under a Gothic club or countercultures, sharing similar tastes in music or fashion.
Okay.
Which I think would actually cover a good portion of us. And
birds of a feather kind of a thing.
Yeah.
The one that I was looking at that might kind of, it doesn't fit us exactly, but the spirit of it kind of does, was Marischal.
Marischal.
I was looking at that too.
Marischal. This coterie serves and guards the prince or baron, doing their bidding and as attendants and henchmen or hatchetmen. Their direct access to the ruler means influential elders attempt to enact their charter into the coterie, Indeed, every member of the Coterie may be primiging yet. Elders left out use every means at their disposal to turn or break the Coterie to their advantage.
Not like
Not
not serving directly under them, but kind of like we were handpicked by them and put here for a reason. That's the kind of flavor I was thinking with that.
It's that influential part that kind of gets me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because as a coterie, we're not very influential, and we've only got one person in the coterie with a dot in influence.
Yeah.
And then we've also got somebody who's suspect.
Their direct access to the ruler means that influential elders attempt to insert their chowder into this coterie.
Yeah.
So, Marischal, it could work.
We'd probably be closer to a Fang Gang than that one.
Yeah, Fang Gang, the Coterie operates as a criminal gang, or possibly as a crew of burglars or con artists. The Fang Gang may disguise itself as part of the city's organized crime syndicate, or act as the Prince or Baron's liaison with them.
That works.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like that, or Premeire.
If you feel yourselves being more of a social coterie, then Premeire definitely...
It's definitely more of a social coterie,
right,
with a lot of physicality. I don't see overt research being the thing, though that I definitely wouldn't want to go without it.
Right.
I would probably say... Also, you got to remember, where we start and where we end up might be two distinct different things, right?
Right.
I almost see, I'd like the idea of starting very thin and building from there. And, you know, trying to leverage, like, for instance, trying to get that first few dots in influence, trying to leverage the influence to build up the domain, trying to end up shoring that regard up and trying to end up figuring out, okay, how do we end up doing that while trying to end up succeeding in this particular point. Right now, I think we're at a point as fledglings where personal survival is currently the big one that we're worried about.
Stickler, yeah.
Especially with, you know, so many angles for you to end up taking for attack. We want to end up starting thin and develop from there. And the advantage to something like, for instance, Fang Gang is that, desperate for blood, little bit of ears and all that kind of stuff, but we really don't have the capability of expounding past that. And so half the time we're scraping by, we're trying to scrape by to make sure that we're able to end up being able to build from that. It starts off as lean, which this coterie is new. We shouldn't have like 3 dots influence in X, Y, and Z yet.
Right.
We should be developing from it.
Right.
So maybe for one time, you know, we start off as a little bit of birds of a feather. Maybe develop into a bit more of a Fang Gangs bit, then go into Martial. Then, you know, you can end up going all over the place in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that's probably the way we should end up going about it, is trying to go thin on that and just develop. I think that's probably the best way to go about it. I don't know what you guys think.
Agree.
So starting off as a Fang Gang then?
Well,
Are we starting off as a Fang Gang or a Premeire?
Well, you got to remember, those are... Okay, so just to be clear, right? These aren't like presets. They're more just, here is an idea of what a coterie could be, and here's like how they might do their starting dots.
Right.
No, I understand that. I'm asking, are we starting off as a social club, or are we starting off as pretending?
I'd say social club would probably be the more accurate one.
Okay.
Especially since we're still feeling it out and we're kind of tossed together.
So the Premeire is kind of the base concept and kind of build it like that.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Okay. What do y'all think?
I'm okay with this.
Because y'all
I'm in agreement.
y'all have 4 total dots to spend to, you know, start your Coterie concepts. This way that you can kind of put them in the places where you want. Like Premeire suggests, Chase and Lane and Contacts.
Yeah.
With the possibility of taking some flaws for added dots, because that is a thing. You can take coterie flaws as a way to pay for extras at a 1-to-1 ratio.
I'd say before we start going, so goal become influential in the city. Is that
Overall
all
goal?
agreed?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just writing that down. Literally, that's the statement of purpose, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the goal of the coterie.
Let's see here. So we're going to take a look here. Domain. So right away, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to give the first dot into Chase, like outright. I'd like to at least have a 6+. I can take desperation measures,
As far
but
as
at least beat it as possible.
Right. So, in building the coterie, because I'm gonna also be making notes for that. Let's see. I'm just gonna create a character sheet so I can create the coterie notes too. So you said that you are putting 1 dot in Chase to begin with.
Yeah.
Your first dot's in Chase, okay. And what about the other 3?
I'll put my dot in Chase too.
Okay. Because you get 1
Yeah,
each.
that's what I was thinking about. Chase just for ease of feeding, but
Okay, so that's Chase 3 so far.
That's what you're doing, Mothers? Chase
What
3?
is-
yeah. I think I'm going to sacrifice some of my personal shit.
We're not to that point
Cool.
yet. We're just
Yeah.
doing the individual one that you have to start, so we have a baseline. And then Mox.
Do me a solid and remind me of what Leanne and Portillion link to.
Lane is information gathering. Portalon is defensive measures.
I'm actually going to put a dot in Lane.
Lane for information gathering. Okay, so it'd be a 3 dot Chase and a 1 dot Lane, 0 on Portalon to start so far.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can get into what it is that you're sacrificing from your own personal pool into the coterie. So, who has a dot they want to put in?
I'm going to sacrifice a dot of resources for a dot of Portalon.
Okay. Make sure to notate on that on your sheet. Mother, you said you had something you wanted to sacrifice and put in the coterie?
Yeah, I was thinking about taking my haven and my library and using that as our haven.
How many total dots is that?
That is a 2 dot haven with a 2 dot library.
Okay, so 4 total.
Yeah.
And you want that to be 2 dot size and 2 dot library, and it's no longer just yours, it's everyone's?
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that so that we have a place.
Now, if I recall, libraries require a specialty or...
They do. What specialty does it have?
You
can decide as a coterie now that it's all of yours.
I don't remember exactly what I did.
Could I suggest a
maybe
cult?
A cult?
Makes sense, given who it's donated by.
Or given who it's donated by and the fact that you've got two Malkavians in the group, both of which have aspects.
Yeah, a cult would be okay. I'd be down with that.
I almost want to say they want it to narrow down to at least a little bit of a subject. A cult is a little broad.
Where's
It
is
could
there a
be
page
something
where
like
these are
blood magic.
listed
It
on?
could be something like werewolves. It could be magic in general. It could be because those are all fit under a cult.
Can I just suggest general magic? Because that can lean into both accurate blood magic as well as divination and the like.
Could even encompass rituals from the Hikata, that sort of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that can. I'll allow that to magic to incorporate all of that from blood magic to oblivion
Just
magic
general.
and to regular magic even.
That's my suggestion.
Okay. So that specific field in the occult and magic.
That would kind of make sense given who I am and what I've accrued over the years of my tomes and shit that has led me down this path.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll allow for like rituals. Well, not that you find much in the way of like kind published literature that's going to have a lot of that stuff in it that's actually real, but you're gonna have potentially some, some writings that are from other Trebeer or other related things that might have something to do with anything magical in that, and that's where you get the bonus from.
That's when we start delving into his Ninth Gate style bullshit.
Okay, so you've marked off that those 4 dots.
I was so glad you guys knew about that movie, the ones that I've talked to about my character.
Oh, it was so good.
It's so good.
It's such a good movie. Johnny Depp did a good job.
Delightful.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the other specialty? So just to
there's 2.
Everybody's on the same page. Your Haven has a dedicated library on the occult, Canaan legends, city history, vampiric lore, or the like. Each dot of this merit adds 1 to the dice pool for research rolls for 1 academic's investigation or occult specialty. Small havens limit the merit to the maximum of 1 dot.
Right. So you get 1 specialty, but you get 2 dots to assist in a roll.
Okay.
If you're studying anything in magic, you get 2 dots to assist your roll.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So, all right, my mistake. For some odd reason, I thought it was 1 specialty per dot.
No, it's a +1 per dot, but it's 1 specialty per library.
My bad.
So you would have to build a second library in order to facilitate another specialty, but yeah. Nothing stopping you from doing that. I mean, the size of your haven keeps you from doing that, but it's a 2 dot. It's a 2 dot size, so it's not like it's small by any means. Okay. Anyone else wanting to throw some dots into the pool? Or does anyone want to suggest a flaw to buy something?
Let's see.
Well, I think I got one.
Yeah.
I think I got one.
Okay.
I'll get us 1 additional dot. Now, why is this haven so full of the occult and all this, and why were we given this?
Oh, that is right. I have
bitch be haunted.
No, I was going to say my I think I did take a flaw to get that. I have the haven flaw of creepy. Thank you for reminding me, Tart.
Creepy.
So it would already have the flaw of creepy.
I think so, because I think I took that to get the extra dot in library.
Oh, okay.
What? Okay, now I'm a little.
You know what? You know what though? I still want to take that extra floor of haunted
Yeah, you can
because
do
we
that.
didn't see the haunted in Rodney's Haven, and I want you to do something with that floor.
Okay, so just base stats without buying any extras with the Haven flaws, where you can do it 1-to-1. Mother, how many dots was that supposed to be?
I think it was a 2-dot Haven with a 1-dot library, and then I got the extra dot of library with the Haven Flaw Creepy.
Okay, so you can take the Haven Flaw Creepy or Haunted, and have that additional dot in library, and that'll be a 1-to-1 spend. Or you can
That's
spend.
up to the Coterie because I did that on personal. But
Yeah.
I'll take haunted. In fact, I think it's haunted literally by the kindred who did. So man, this used to be before we showed up. He's
Ooh.
pissed.
I want it. I want it.
All right.
Haven Flaw.
Haunted.
Haunted.
All right.
By previous owner. I'll leave that vague and ominous. Any
Well,
additional
thankfully-
flaws that you all want to take to buy something else?
Well, I
Well,
don't
if
think we bought anything with that additional dot.
No, that's
It-
that counts for your
it-
library.
All right.
If it's haunted, I'm pretty sure somebody's going to think it's fucking creepy.
oh goody.
Oh. Mojo doesn't want to have guests over.
Let's do it.
We have the Adams Family house, yo.
So we can do that.
We can do that by increasing the haven size. So now, yes, we do in fact live in the Adams Family Mansion.
And it is on 1313 Mockingbird Lane.
No, that's a little too meme-worthy for me, but yeah, I get I appreciate the sentiment, nevertheless.
So for the Haven, what are we buying for that then? Or are we?
I was going to leave that up to the Coterie to decide if they want to add that into Lane or Portalon.
We can add it to another one. We can actually,
Haven flaws can. Well,
you can add them to backgrounds as well.
it's true.
Okay.
You can. Okay, so maybe I need a little bit of clarity because I thought Haven flaws can only be traded for Haven merits.
That is true, but
Oh,
you're talking about Haven, yeah. But
oh, sorry.
We're not doing that for Haven anymore. We're not expanding the Haven. We're doing the traditional add a flaw to gain a.
Okay, that's where I lost. That's where I lost.
I'm
you.
sorry.
Yeah. So to clarify, so we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
The dots that we ended up getting from Mother was 2 dots for Haven size, 1 dot library.
Right.
Then the expenditure for creepy for the additional library dot. Right? Now we're adding another flaw. So that gives us 1 additional free dot.
Okay. So we're not taking haunted, we're taking creepy.
Oh, I thought we were taking both. Okay.
Yeah, I thought we were taking both too.
That's where I'm confused. That's where I'm
because you're taking
creepy.
So because you're adding creepy to it, that's still a Haven flaw. Therefore, you would still need
to
to
take a Haven
use
dot.
that-
Yeah.
Take a
Do
Haven
we
dot.
want
instead of
a poster?
That's how you want to read it. Okay.
All right.
Do we want a postern or do we want security? Do we want a cell?
I will take an armory.
Armory.
An armory?
An armory or security.
Armory makes sense for Pax and Yvette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I can see that.
the armory would also make sense for Deja too.
Okay.
Sorry.
So just so we're all on the same
Plebeians and your
page,
guns.
that's 2 size, 2 library in the cult magic, 1 armory, with the flaws of haunted and the flaw of creepy.
Every so often, whenever you open the door, you have to end up making sure you're never standing directly behind it, because the ghost might just fire a few rounds through the door as you're trying to get out. You get really good at practicing. You get really good at practicing that. That stung the first time when we figured that out.
I can just see the two Malkavians constantly walking around with Auspex, like trying to spot the fucking ghost.
Yes.
You know what the worst part is the CoffeeCat, just for a one-off. Like, we need a cooldown session.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden it's a bunch of
Ghost
supernatural
hunters.
and a bunch of ghost hunters coming in. Like, excuse me, no, this place isn't haunted. Bang! What was that? Nothing. Don't worry about it. Hey,
I just dropped the safe. It's fine.
Oh my.
I love it. I love it. I love that as a concept. I'm about
that's
it.
just one of those. That's just one of those. Okay, we need a palate cleanser. After
Palate cleanser episode. Yep.
Yeah, like, here's a side thing in the Haven. Wait, what?
All right.
Yeah, I wouldn't go in there. Please don't.
Nope, don't go in there. All right.
Is there anything else we really need? Because
our ghost is the manifestation of hippity hoppity, get off my property.
Okay.
Because I could sacrifice 1 dot in resources and still be comfortable at 2.
Damn you, rich bitch.
Rich is Velda.
I'm going to let him sacrifice it so that I can maintain my Ventru, the richest person in the room status. So I like this.
How many dots have you got?
3.
Oh shit.
God damn. Yvette's also a rich
I've only
bitch.
got 2.
Yeah, but Yvette needs that in order to end up being the sugar mama for her.
This is true. She needs things like Prada and Gucci in order to go on these
she
really
needs to make
expensive
sure
dates.
that her extended family is actually able to feed, because they actually eat food as opposed to she just eats them.
Yeah, that's true. She does feed on them.
If
Speaking
you
of
guys
which,
are looking to sack stuff, I would suggest taking something like a Coterie contact or something along those lines. Just throwing that out there as a thought. If you guys want to do it, I'm not.
Could always take a Coterie Mola.
Oh,
there's always that option.
No. I got it. The tiniest bit of influence. We got 1 here, 1 dot influence, historical. Because the reason the old creepy house is there is because it's a historical site.
Oh, interesting. Would that be influence or would that be more oh, what is that merit called?
Would that be status or influence?
Could be status, could be influence. It depends on how you want to swing it. But I'm just throwing
it could
that
be
out
just
there.
it could be either one, because it depends on if it's kind related or if it's kindred related. Yep. Status is more kindred, influence is more kind. But they both kind of serve the same function.
Yeah, well, they can go into both, right? It depends
influence.
Depends on what you want to go with it. I'm just throwing ideas out here at this point. So, okay, just to be clear, because I think I might have missed a step. Right now, Chase Lane and Portalon are 3, 1, and 1 respectively, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Haven is total 5 dots, 2 size, 2 library, 1 armory.
Yep.
And right now we only have 2 flaws.
Yep.
Given. And right now a sacrifice of the Haven and all that stuff, and 1 dot from resources. That 1 dot resources is where we're getting this last dot, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So what do you want to put it in?
Your call.
It's not my call, it's your call.
Hey, I didn't pay for it.
Neither did I.
What are we putting it in, Mr. Alistair?
What's on the table right now?
Any merit, really.
Yep. Any background or merit you want to slap in there that makes sense for a coterie to have.
Yeah.
Let's come back to that. I'm going to look to the book and see if I get any ideas.
Okay, so that's not spent then, as of yet.
Unless what we could do, I could sacrifice another dot, or I could sacrifice a dot and specifically move my mala to Coterie mala.
Could do.
And make it a 2-dot mala.
It could. And make it a Ventrue neonate. No, that would get you up to Ancilla.
Yeah.
Also gives us a way to kind of tie into the grander politics if we need to end up dipping into them.
Mm-hmm. Kind of be your go-between, in a way.
I'm okay with that if everybody is.
If you're willing to sacrifice that dot, I'm more than good with that.
I just know I need some for Yvette, a person who
to ground her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of,
Ancilla
do you want to
Ventrue.
give up your Mauler, or do you want? I've got a contact dot that hasn't been fleshed out yet. Do you guys want that instead?
Well, the reason
in addition,
it's up to you guys. I'm saying that's on the table, but in one way or another, I will openly say Yvette needs some kind of mala in that regard.
Whether she takes it for herself or whether she takes it as a group thing.
I could see having a 3-dot, like we have a heavy hitter on our side of someone that we can turn to when we need that advice, or
because I was gonna see with that 1-dot contact if I could make that like a mafia contact.
Yeah, that's perfectly viable given your background. So you can keep that. You can define that as a mafia contact for yourself or for the coterie. Your choice.
I think it would make more sense for myself.
All right then.
Because your touchstones, while they do exist, as part of this particular branch of La Cosa Nostra, they may not be able to help you as much as you would like.
Yes.
They're a little more hands-off when it comes to actually helping you. When, you can seek advice and everything like that, and they're more than welcome to talk. But when it comes to anything substantial, they have to be a little hands-off with you.
Yeah. It's like, I was just thinking, it might make more sense for that to come straight through packs.
Yeah.
So I might hold off on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in total, we have a Mola who's 2 dots for the coterie. Am I understanding that correctly? And that's based off of Yvette sacrificing 1 and Alistair sacrificing 1 in resources?
Yeah.
Seems to be the case.
All right.
Ventrue mala?
Then that one's locked in. Yep.
All right.
There you go. Now you get to be the rich bitch.
I'm planning on earning my resources back at some point.
So then this Ventrue fledgling turns into Ventrue Ancilla.
Oh, you know the resources are going to come back in once Pax starts her bullshit.
Anything else? that you would like to spend on the coterie?
I'm good.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I'm more than good at this point.
I don't really see that I have anything that I can spend.
I've spent about as much as I can without
that's-
leaving myself destitute.
And that's perfectly fine, you know, because that's you know, because
I have a thought, actually. I did take a 3-dot floor randomly. Does that give me extra to spend? Like, I voluntarily took an extra 3-dot floor.
it's a blood bond more than it is
Yes.
really a flaw per se. But I will say that, so to be fair, you being blood bonded to Boss Hernandez does give you the opportunity to learn potentially some of his disciplines. So that's already an added benefit for being blood bonded to him.
This is true.
I will say that. What does your sheet look like?
It'll be there somewhere.
I'm opening up your sheet right now. Damn.
What?
You have a lot of flaws, my guy.
Me? Yeah. Absolutely yes. But if you have a look at my merits, you'll see why.
Yeah. That's valid. I am going to say that fuck it. One more for you. Put it where you want for the coterie.
Cool. Where do we need it, guys?
Because I'm cool.
Absolutely.
I'm a
You're
cool
benevolent
storyteller.
God.
We're being bought out, is what we're in.
Do
if
you
I'm
want
gonna-
to?
I'm going to give
ahead.
you an offer you can't refuse.
I was going to say, do you want to eat better, get more information, or have better protection and security?
I think I'd like to avoid doing chase. I already feel like 3 is almost a little too much for us just starting out, to be honest with you.
Truthfully, I think at the moment, the more information we have, the better.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel like lean.
Okay.
Okay. So chase 3, lane 2, portal on 1 for your
I'm
base
happy with that.
stats.
All right.
So I am cool, Dantos. You shush.
Less SQ.
Using all my emotes against me. So 6, 5, 4. Okay, you're at a difficulty 4 to feed. This must have been like some kind of random ass bullshit that you got, because it's good feeding. But why?
We don't know.
Knowing our luck. Oh, sorry, Mox. Go ahead.
The boss had a hand that
You were cutting out a little bit still.
one of the Don pushed the barons to get a good spot because that's
There was the Don who had an influence in the kind of feeding that you have now.
maybe
Hernandez has a hand in this.
because the Don knows how Pax feeds,
Mm-hmm.
and it's important that her group stays fed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just a thought.
He is very aware of how you feed. He's the one who's fed you this whole time.
Yeah. So, that could be a reasoning as to why he would, kind of try and pull a few strings for them. Because he can't feed her forever.
I'm almost thinking that there should be a connection between this Ventrumola and the boss. Then, that there's some kind of connection there.
Well, that's something that you could work with. You're gonna plot hooks all over the place here, Coffee.
Well, you're definitely not at a loss for any interjection you need.
So I'm the highest humanity character so far, I take it.
Because you are a farmer, yes?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, there's some kind of connection here. I don't know what that connection is just yet, but I'm gonna figure it out.
That's a lot to hear.
Alright. Any other purchases? Any other thoughts? Any other desires to put a connection somewhere?
There are 1,000,001 places to put connections in this group.
Oh, of course.
Coffee.
Because
if you can't find places on your own, you're not trying hard enough.
Well, I mean, where I put things and where you want things to go, that's a totally different story. Because if you want to connect some of your touchstones on your own, then I'm not going to stop you.
I can probably find ways to connect everybody in this little map.
Oh, so can I.
To the Don in some way. Like,
I mean,
because I feel like that's the kind of man he is. He's got his fingers in everything.
Oh, he's influential for sure. He is not without his fingers in every pie.
Well, that's why Pax has 1 dot of influences, because she's been right at his side this whole time.
Yep, she's been learning from him.
Mm-hmm. So people do know her.
Yep. Well, if that concludes Coterie building, then I think that about kind of does it for us, don't you think?
I think that about does it.
Yeah.
I concur.
I'm looking forward to the actual gameplay so much.
I'm excited for that too, and I didn't really have any intros prepared, so we're gonna do that next week, where we're gonna introduce the Coterie, coming together as a group after probably about a week, 2 weeks of planning with each other to kind of, get the basics of what it is that we have here as a Coterie build, and really kind of solidify what it is that their stake is in this Coterie. So there's been some sacrifices by certain Coterie mates that have put a lot of what they possess into all of this, so hopefully it isn't thankless. And we'll come up with something. Something's going on here that our Coterie is not quite aware of yet. And it's only just begun. But thank you everyone for coming and visiting us here for session 0 of Austin by Starlight, the new Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle, here on CoffeeCat Presents. Hopefully you all will stick around, because I believe there is someone we should go raid. Let's find out who that should be. Let's find out. Maddie's online. Let's go raid Maddie and see what he's up to. Because I believe he was drawing entries for the Tiamat giveaway that he was doing, where the entries had been all full, and so he was drawing names to see who would get what pack. So let's go find out. Let's go find out what he's doing and giving away. So come along with us, everybody. We'll see you next time. And tomorrow will be more Rebirth. So stick around for that tomorrow. In the meantime, say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Catches.